Waiting for the go.
Mhm.
I'll take a sip. All right, welcome. Last week we missed, and I missed you all so much. I'm Marnie Batista. I am the founder and creator of the Should Life and the Life Check Yourself live stream podcast. And I have a great guest for us today. If you've always been curious about energy medicine and human consciousness, I've got Ina Siegel, the best-selling author of The Secret Language of the Body. Um, her journey began after years of illness, and she had this tragic stillborn birth of her child. And she developed this ability to heal herself, and she dedicated her life from that moment on to helping others transform pain into freedom. And she's been doing this for 25 years with people all over the world, doctors, psychologists, trauma survivors, creatives. How do we uncover the true roots of our suffering so that we can restore our health through the wisdom of our body and our soul? So I'm super excited that you're here.
Thank you so much.
So I think for anyone who's listening, today's conversation, I really wanted to be for those of you who feel like you've done all the right things. You know, you've gone to therapy, you've done the protocols, the books, the meditation, all of those things. And it feels like your body still is trying to get attention. And that it's not, that things are not aligned. And so in the work that I know that you've done, like with your 25 years kind of decoding what the body's actually saying when these symptoms and when these things show up. I'm hoping that for those of you who are here, you can think about what's going on in your body in a new way and be able to have access to your wisdom based on whatever Ina divinely is downloaded in this conversation that unlocks something for you today, something new, a new way to sort of go at the problem that you've been having. This is a really, and Ina probably doesn't even know this about me, but this is a really personal thing for me because when I had my traumatic ski accident in 2020 and I broke my sacrum and then everything healed and the doctor was like, "You're fine." I'm like, "But I'm not. I can't really still walk." Um, I was like, there is something going on that was deeper. And it was actually when I did this deep work on forgiveness, like literally a miracle occurred. And the next day I was pain free. So I feel so profoundly passionate about this topic in this work. So I'm excited to talk to you more. So let's just talk about this to because we're talking to women in midlife, and I feel like the older we get, I hear all this like, oh, that's aging, like, and we feel like our body's like breaking down or it's broken or like this is just the way it is or this is part of midlife or aging. And you talk about the secret language of the body. So for someone new to your work, what does that actually mean?
Well, it means what you just described, which is connecting to the wisdom of your body and recognizing that even if you have an accident or you think it's an accident or whatever you think it is, or why you think that you have it, which if you are going down the path of medicine, they will just tell you that they won't know. For 99% of things that you have, they don't know why you have it, right? So essentially it comes back to being open-minded to the fact that your body has a reason and a wisdom, and it's holding this wisdom for you to access. And when you access it, like you experience money, like I experienced, you start healing. And this wisdom, it's not rocket science, actually. It's very much based on understanding the functionality of your body and what it's actually doing. What is each part of your body for? And when we break it down, even in layman's terms, we start to go, oh, well, my throat is for communication and my heart is for connection and intimacy. We know all of this stuff. My shoulders, well, I carry things on my shoulders. My neck, why do we say this person's a pain in the neck? maybe it's connected to relationships, or they give me a headache. Well, maybe it's about thinking and how I'm thinking about what's going on in my life or with this person. And so when we start to break things down, we start to recognize, let's say the spine is your foundation, as I think you discovered.
Yeah.
So when that breaks, you're looking at relationships, and you're looking at, again, what happened. Maybe I do need to forgive, or maybe I need to heal from something, or maybe I need to change my perspective on what's been happening in my life. And maybe I've lost who I thought I was, in terms of my space inside of my family, or or I don't know who I am anymore. So the body is constantly guiding you towards growth, from the perspective of, how do you stretch? How do you become a better person? How do you become deeper?
And more, and like for me, it was that I realized, because I couldn't, after that, I couldn't walk or I couldn't move. I couldn't do anything that I used to keep myself busy with. And I had this huge breakthrough of like, I built my life on moving instead of being. And I had to break it at the foundation. Like your sacrum, right, is like the foundation. So I have to rebuild everything in my life, which I literally did, right? So I want to do a little disclaimer here, just to make sure that we talk about certain things in the right way, because there are some diseases that people get, right, that they may need some like modern medicine to cure or to handle. So how do you know, like, the parts that you can heal, right, through listening, and those which kind of need a co-creative, like maybe you need also some Western medicine,
Mm.
like if you have a certain kind of chronic disease or cancer. I mean, I just want to make sure we don't say like, yes, you can, magically delicious your way out of something that is needs also some Western medicine attention. How do you speak about that? What's the disclaimer, if any, around that?
Well, I really think that it depends on the person, how far the issue has gone, what their capacity is. So I talk in terms of capacity as well. And also, I mean, if you broke something, then definitely go to the
Right.
hospital and get it, and get surgery or something like that. You don't want to be sitting there going, I'm just going to heal my break. So no, don't do that. But again, I think it's complex to say, because certain people have an innate, incredible internal flexibility, and they've been doing work, and again, you know, uh, inverted commas, work on themselves, in that sense of, they know themselves from inside out, and they have developed that capacity to transform whatever shows up, through understanding the language of the body, through communicating with the body, through having access to a lot of different processes. But they've practiced this, and so when they have a challenge show up, they may
Mm.
still go and see a doctor. They might have a heart challenge, a heart problem, let's say, and they might work together with a specialist, but they'll also come home and they'll tune into their own heart, and they'll look at what's going on in terms of their relationships and how to work on this. On the other side, we have people who are completely new to this, and they don't have that internal flexibility. What they have is self protection. And then
Mm.
essentially the nervous system goes into fight, flight, freeze responses when you are not shown how to work on your emotions, on your traumas, how to assimilate things, how to change your perspectives from, early on, let's just say. And so when the nervous system is operating in that self protect mode, then, and you find out that you have some kind of a crisis or physical condition, then it might be better to first go to a doctor. Ideally, go to a doctor that is open-minded. There are so many now
Right,
that,
right. That will work
that
with you.
exactly, and that will look at alternatives. And so, you know, combine it with maybe some acupuncture, maybe some natural medicine, some herbs, but also look at it from get all your scans done. Even though I can tune in and see into people's bodies, I will actually say to people, I really think you should get a scan done, because we don't know how physical it is when we're tuning into the energetics of it. So I might think that it's a little bit more, a little bit less than what it actually is.
Right,
And,
right.
because again, I might have an hour with a person and I'm trying to see so many different aspects and create a map and put everything together. I don't have the time necessarily to go into the real minutiae and the details that would take hours. And so it's easier to go and get a scan done and to have somebody who understands how to read scans.
Right,
Right.
right. Well, I think it's really interesting. I have a client who's like 68, and she was just telling me this is the first time since she can remember that she's pain free. With her knees, her joints, all these things. And so there's two things that happened. She decided to end a relationship that wasn't serving her. She started working on setting boundaries, creating like a lot of new ways of being in her life. She also started going to a different um PT that was focused on building strength, which she'd never done before, right? So it's like external, right? It's I always say heart set, mindset, skill set, right? So it's our heart, right? It's like this emotional healing. It's how we're thinking. We have to take action. And then what you said is like, and then also how are you strengthening your body or how are you nurturing your body? And so what I hear you saying is like it's a holistic approach. But if you just do one of them, you often end up in this stuck cycle where you feel like nothing is working, which leads to my next question. Because you have said that healing doesn't start where people think it does. Um, so especially in midlife. So where does it start?
Well, I think it depends on each human being, on each person. But what I found was, for instance, I had somebody that I was tuning into not very long ago, and she was saying that she had an issue with her wrist, and she was having difficulty writing or moving her wrist. And when I was tuning in to her, I was asking a question, and the question is, where did it start? And it was very obvious to me that it actually started in her neck and is going through her neck and shoulders. And as I was speaking, she said, "Oh my God, I've just gone to a physio." And she said the same thing to me, right? Because when you get to know the body, whether it's from my perspective or from perspective of another health professional, you're looking at where are the seeds, where does it look like the energy is coming from, or that stuckness that you mentioned. And we start to, well, from my perspective, I'm going to say, I start to explore, what could this be about? What could have triggered this? So, for instance, with this lady, I know that and it was her right hand and it was the right side of her neck. So I know that neck is about relationships. So something that she didn't talk about with someone that was masculine in her life, because I know the right side is about masculine connection and communication, potentially to do with her work, that lack of communication, holding back, not talking about it, caused this issue. But it showed up in her not being able to write, because that's what she does for work. She types. So the body is very interesting in that way and very intelligent, where it will hurt the part that you may need the most, or that is still explaining what's really going on, but where it starts is potentially, somewhere else where your communication was blocked, or where you suppressed something. There was a trauma and you just went, I'm not dealing with this, I'm just going to move on because I can't, it's too hard, I don't know how to.
Yeah, so it's like what I'm hearing you say is that the body is holding these unexpressed or undealt with experiences. Maybe it's suppressing truth, or maybe it's unprocessed grief, or desire, that you're just sort of ignoring, and that it creates these emotional and energetic roots that then start to manifest into the physical. And that when you have someone like you, which, by the way, we want to make sure we put all the links to get in touch with you and have you get your talent on these people that are like, gosh, can she help me diagnose this? Make sure we put that in the chat, Imran. But that these things show up, and for our listeners, I really want to point out some of these things, and you can elaborate. Like, this looks like over functioning for other people. This looks like, proving, always trying to prove. You think you're being productive, but is there an energy around proving or trying to, do work so that you get validation? There's so many of the people that follow the should life, screw the should life, are living from obligation instead of alignment. So it sounds like these things that we do that we think are just like habits or patterns are actually being held in our physical self and then manifesting. That's kind of what you've been saying, right, Ina?
Absolutely.
So let me ask you this. When you look at someone who's super high functioning and you look at like the deeper layers, what are the patterns or the layers that most people are overlooking? Like, they don't there's it's so part of the rules of their world that they don't even realize that this could be causing a physical manifestation of something.
Can I give you 2 examples that are coming
Please
into my
do.
head?
Yeah, of course. Yes.
So I was working with this lady, and she is, she's built some pretty big businesses, and she goes into businesses and helps them. And I know that this show has been about relationships as well. And so it was really interesting that she was having massive difficulty in her heart and in her throat and thyroid around relationships. And she kept saying to me, I'm doing so well in terms of my business, and and I've got boundaries, and I've got this and I've got that going on, and yet I'm still struggling with certain parts of my health and my life. I just feel so alone, and I just feel so disconnected. And I said, and she said, I just want community. I want community. And when I was tuning into her, the thing that showed up immediately was the fact in her throat, the fact that something had occurred with her family that she has not resolved. And I kept seeing family members just coming out of her throat, but it was like her throat was completely blocked and she was being suffocated. And that was also affecting her heart. And because her heart was in protection mode, it was hardened, it was kind of pushing away. And I said to her, so what happened? And basically somebody died in the family, and there was a huge conflict going on, and she wasn't dealing with it. She was just going, oh, someone else can deal with this, but then getting hurt and again going into this self-protect mode. And at the same time, because that was happening in her immediate family, she was also protecting herself against anyone else because she
Right.
was feeling so vulnerable.
Yeah, right.
And we had and she was lonely because of that. So we had to really work on separating one, well, this is your challenges with your family. How do you need to communicate to them. What do you need to say? When do you need to say? Kind of like what you said, Marnie, with saying, recognizing, so recognition of what it's about, feeling through it, and then eventually going and taking action and saying, well, this is not how this is going to work. I'm going to take charge in here and I'm participating rather than just going, oh, I'm scared. You do it. So what was really beautiful was that as she started changing all of this, it was like, because her heart opened and she was able to start allowing people into her life that she didn't think she could before. Because what people do and what they say when they're in, especially in these high positions, and I know because I've been there myself, is, well, there's no people that can meet me, and there's no, how do I advertise? And I feel uncomfortable, and I'm just gonna be in my little corner performing, but not actually taking my needs into account. So most people who are very successful do not listen to their bodies, do not take their needs into account because they're just way too busy, doing other things. Or saving others,
Yeah. And can I just interrupt 1 second? Because I think I want you to elaborate on this. I found that, and anyone who's listening, chime in, if this relates to you. I think also the more you get used to being busy and on go mode, right? You lose time. Like there's no time or space to even like listen to your body, or there's this, like badge of courage. Like so many people like, I just ski through my pain, or I just, like we just push through the pain. Like that's the strong thing to do. And so for someone who's like, I don't even feel my feelings. I don't even know what you're talking about when you're like, listen to my body. Where do you take someone who's got so much chronic stress or nervous system overload that's just disguised as success or busy? Like where, because I see this constantly, where do you take them?
Well, firstly, the step one is trust. And I'll give you an example of, so I had this client again. We were talking on the phone. This is quite a few years ago. And he was a CEO of a huge telecommunication company. So he was very busy. And I loved this first conversation because somebody else recommended that he connect with me. And we started with me tuning into him and saying things, and he was just on this call going, And I remember thinking to myself, he wants to test me because there's something going on there that he's refusing to deal with. And so if I'm wrong, then he can go and tell everybody how wrong I am and be so, and connect to his ego and his pride in that sense. And because I was...
So you have a good bullshitometer.
Yeah, exactly. I was aware of that. And in terms of how the body communicates, at times it'll be very much about, here's this shoulder pain, and the way that I'll see it is that it's literally either circled or it comes out at me, or the intestines or whatever it is. But other times it will be archetypal or metaphoric. And with this particular man, I kept getting this image of a frog. And I remember thinking, he's a frog that wants to be a prince, but actually the way he behaves is like a frog, which means he's lying. And so I said to him, look, I don't have time for this bullshit, to be honest. I know what you're doing. You're testing me and you're lying in your life. So let's get to the crux of this. Either you tell me the truth about what you're lying about and how you're pretending to be something you're not, or we hang up. And
I love that. Sign up with this woman. She will tell you the truth. Okay, go ahead.
And he went, oh, okay. Well, I'm cheating on my wife.
Oh, mic drop moment. Busted.
Yeah. Yeah, and it was, but he's like, but I'm doing this because this woman needs help, and you don't understand because my mom was treated badly by my dad, and so I'm trying to help, but so there's a lot of excuse-itis there. Interestingly, this man was so intuitive, like incredibly intuitive, but because he was lying and because he was in his mind, it was okay because he was saving this other woman,
Right.
even though he was having an extramarital relationship with her. And, he had all sorts of reasoning for why it was okay. When he came to my workshop. So I have this 10-day workshop where people really dive in. And I said to him, you know what? I want to see how serious you are. So I'm not going to waste all my time and your time until I see you making changes. And I'm coming. He lived in Sydney. I'm coming to Sydney. So you show up and do the work that you need to do. And he's like, yes, but I'm working. It's too long. And I was like, I'm not listening. So if you're interested in putting your life back together, then you need to show up in this course. It was very interesting because because this whole thing was intertwined with his mother, and she had passed over. When he showed up in the workshop, one of the first days we were working on connecting to our heart and opening ourselves up to our intuition. And after the process, he said to me, oh my God, I smelt my mom. Because she was a smoker, and he was saying, I literally, I could smell her being there. And he started to really connect. And every day I saw him transform and open up and really listen to his body. And at the end of it, he said to me, when you come into the workshop, the analogy is like you have this tank and it's so dirty that you can't see anything. So it doesn't matter if you add more dirt to it.
Right.
But after the workshop and after doing this type of work, it becomes so clean that even the tiniest amount, changes everything. And what happened was that he created boundaries with women in general. He told this lady that, no, I want to stay with my wife. I have children and so on. He actually started helping. He could tune in and see in a similar way to me after this workshop, and started telling things and helping people that he worked with. So he would tell them what he would see and then guide them, and saved quite a few people.
Became like a better leader, better husband, all of those things.
And then changed his career and became a leader and started doing what was really aligned with him and made a lot more money as well.
Oh my God. And that is so true. Like, go back to what you said at the beginning, which is like, your body has got a message for you, right? And this thing is happening for you, not to you. So if you actually take the pause and you get curious about it, it's a window into like a possibility that you can't see. And I think for people who are listening, like, we're so afraid of what we don't know on the other side of our familiar pain. And like, I'm sure if you would have asked this man, like, do you see yourself doing X, Y, and Z, making more money? He'd be like, no, I do this. And this woman need, I love excuse-itis, right? But we don't know what's on the other side until we like let go and actually figure out what the message is, and then start to actually, do that work, which is so crazy. Okay. So last kind of thing. If someone feels like their body's been tapping them on the shoulder for a while now, what's one place that you suggest that they start?
They need to start with taking responsibility.
Okay.
And responsibility is not blame. They're actually completely opposite. Responsibility means I'm going to make some time for myself. I'm going to slow down, and I'm going to start to connect instead of disconnect, right? That's what most people do. And I think that also can answer the question that you had previously, which is, most of the time when somebody's overwhelmed and there's so much going on, they are so disconnected because they're actually outside of their own body. They're in their mind, but in the future,
Yeah, they're
as
not
opposed
present.
to, right? As opposed to going, what does it feel what does it feel like to be present and uncomfortable? Because it is going to be uncomfortable if you haven't been connected to yourself. So what does it feel like to be present with discomfort? And if I could start to explore this discomfort, starting with numbness, and I'll say to people, all right, we're going to use all of you, right? And this is also what I wrote about in my book, The Secret Language of Your Body.
Yeah, make sure we get
to
that
use-
book. Put that link up there too,
Yeah.
guys.
you know, how to use all of you. So how to become aware of the fact that you have visual abilities, you remember things, you can touch parts of your body, you can breathe into parts of your body, you can have all sorts of discoveries by tuning in and connecting. And people kind of go, oh, tuning in so woo woo. Well, it's not actually, because by placing your hands on a part of your body and breathing into it, you create a connection with your brain and your nervous system. And when you breathe through your nose and out through your mouth with a slightly pursed lips, you actually calm the nervous system down. And then you might go, okay, so what is the sensation that I have inside my heart, let's say? Is it sharp? Do I feel hot? Is it cold? Is it stretchy? How would I describe it to somebody?
Okay.
So I never start with emotions because many people are terrified of
right.
acknowledging what it is. So let's just start with sensations. And then we might go, okay, well, if there was a shape to this sensation, or the group of sensations, what would it be? And if this shape had a color, what would it be? And is this a healthy color for you? So we start with some much more mental type of explorations that are not scary to people who are scared of this type of thing.
Yeah, I don't like emotions, right?
Right. And then we might go, okay, so if you're feeling numbness, because they'll often say, well, I feel numb, I don't feel anything. Well, not feeling anything means that you feel a lot, but you don't want to feel whatever is underneath that, whatever's layered.
Mic drop moment, that one.
Right? So then we literally look at how do we peel each layer off gently with what people are able to handle. And then we always come back to the nervous system, and we might go, okay, what are the things that we can do to help the nervous system? Well, we can move the body so we can actually acknowledge a stress and then shake it out. Then we can bring a color like green. I mean, we know when we go into nature, we start to feel calmer. So we might visualize green and bring it into our nervous system and into our spine. And, and then step by step move towards what's really being held there. But I'm one of these people, I don't believe in re-traumatizing people, and I don't believe in pushing or forcing anything. I really feel that your body will show you when it's ready. So let's just go slowly, step by step, because when you do that, you create a foundation without skipping steps, and you end up being able to hold whatever it is that you've transformed, meaning that you don't just have pain relief and then pain back 3 days later, but you can actually really transform because you learned your lessons and you understood what it was about.
I love that. So helpful. If this conversation is lighting something up for you, or you're like, wow, I really want to get her eyes and intuition and spidey senses on my bod. Ina has beautiful resources where you can go deeper into her work, and we have put links in the chat to her website and to her book. But what I love most about all this that you shared today is that this isn't, and there's so much about like, in order to have more, be more, do more, we need to be someone new. And what I'm really hearing right now is like, this work is asking us to come back to ourselves, like that the answer is within and that we don't have to fight against it. We can take what's going on with ourselves and surrender and be curious and use that as like a flashlight, as a torch, as they say, to what's possible in the future. So, thank you for reminding us that our bodies aren't problems to solve, that they're actually our partners, in truth. So thank you so much for being here. For those of you who are listening, make sure you subscribe to Screw the Should Life, where we're talking about lots of different ways we can screw the should life. I think if you screw your should life, then you'll probably find a pathway to healing, like Ina was talking about. And you can find us on YouTube and our show, Life Check Yourself. Make sure that you click on all of the links that we have for Ina Siegel. And whatever you do, remember, always and in always, it is your responsibility to life check yourself. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye for now.